Hi, you have found Kathy, and this is my sewing practice. Hi again. So in my sewing practice today, I'm going to talk about color. This is going to be a two-part series, unless it, expands into something different, but I know it will be two parts. And the first part will be called my color story, and the second one's going to be called my color application. So I, long before this channel, was struggling with the concepts of getting color into my wardrobe. I knew that if I knew my color, or at least whether I was warm or cool, I would glean great benefits. You see, I don't like to overbuy, and I don't like to make bad purchases. Does anyone, really? And I don't like to have Lone Rangers in my wardrobe that for some reason you can't figure out, like, why are they not working? All that adds to frustration. And we don't want to be stressed, right? Frustration's just a highway to stress. So I knew there'd be great value in knowing my colors. So I went to the sources, right? To the YouTube. So like I said, I knew that if you had a curated color code, you could look really good. Thank you, Rosary Apparel, and the curated wardrobe she has. And all these YouTube channels I will reference below in case you want to check them out. I know colors would make shopping more efficient, but that ease just eluded me. I'm talking to you, stress and confusion and time and veins. Christine LeConte, what are you talking about? Like, I know that in theory that if you have a blue vein and you're looking at it through a yellow lens, it would turn green. But all you've done now is convince me I don't even know how to read color. Like, I know how to read color? Come on. That was so confusing. And then more confusion because, like, I really get pale in the winter. And I have brown hair that did get a little blonde when I was younger, but I was never a blonde. And my eyes, I just felt like were a neutral. They were like not contributing whatsoever. But then in the summer I do tan. So what am I? Well, so let's look at family members. Well, my daughter, like, she wears #1 makeup. She is really fair. But my sisters are like me. They tan and then they tan again. And so it seems like we're more similar. But like I said, and that's another thing, if you tan in the summer, so then shouldn't that make you a summer? Like, why do the tan people become falls, sort of, or autumns? I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. Thank you, Kathy, with your titles and your overthinking once again. Okay, so let's just go neutral, right? The blues and the grays and the blacks and the taupes, they're all so pretty. Thank you, Audrey Coyne. And thank you, Christine Micus. And thank you, Use Less. You all look really good. But you know what? You're really cute too. And not only that, you got an adorable figure and those colors go for you. So they're neutral for you. They are neutral for you. But they're not neutral for me. And I want to wear those colors. Maybe, at least I used to. Okay, so then I went on vacation, and we went on a month-long vacation, and I just wanted to nail that packing. Like, it was just a goal. Like, I wanted to go for a month vacation with one small suitcase. And I did do that. And I knew even going in, I was gonna rotate some stuff out. So like, I deliberately wore some things that had seen like maybe some better days, that still look good enough, but I could leave them in a hotel room and then replace them with something else. So that was my strategy. And I also felt like if I wore a lot of solids, there would be a lot of interchange, okay? But I went during the summer, it was all of September of last year. It wasn't even a year ago. And so I wanted to wear summer colors. So like one of the things happened was that I found these sandals that I just loved, and it was like I just need to do my whole capsule off of those sandals. That was a mistake. But in the sandals, there was this color, which is my sun hat. So if I wore the hat and the sandals, I felt pretty good together. But then like my travel purse was like the same fabric in the same color if you had stained it with coffee. So it was kind of a muted. So I had clear colors and muted colors. Like, what was I thinking? And that brings me to like what I've learned is that clear versus muted is almost as important as warm versus cool, you know? Next page. Oh yeah. And then there's like Jennifer of Everyday Style, and she gives such good advice. So I am gonna say one thing I don't like, but the rest I do like. And that is that she makes it sound like you need to get new colors every 3 months. Like if you truly have a color story, can't you tell the story all year round? Like, I don't think you need to get new colors, you know? I just couldn't figure it out. I mean, that's all it comes to. And I can tell you the moment where I had just had enough. It is the weirdest thing. I was on an island off of Croatia in this beautiful sea. I didn't really need to go anywhere where people saw me, but I had been living out of that suitcase at that point for about 3 weeks, and I just knew it wasn't working like it should. And it's like, what did I do? I mean, I literally had tried. So I ordered the Color Guru. Within a week, it was given to me. Again, on the island of Korčula, Croatia. And what you do is you send some snaps, and they said, we don't see your eyes well enough. And so, you know, I sent them my eyes. Well, it turns out with having hazel eyes, that is a clue. I mean, you know, it is. It's a color. It's just a common color. And they wanted to have some other questions, and it came back I was a soft autumn. Okay. So I paid for advice, and then I didn't like the advice. I wasn't even sure if I believed it. I mean, how many ways can I be so ignorant about this? And one of the problems was this color. I don't really like this color. Like, in my head, this is not a color I ever gravitate to. And it says on my card here that this is my power color. Well, maybe I'm not a very powerful person, and quite honestly, I'm not. But, you know, a lot of like my color story was based on these teals that I never wear. And like even this color, I'm still just not, it's just still not like my thing, you know? So I had to allow my eyes to adjust to some of that, which it still hasn't fully, but it probably will eventually. So that's part of the color story. The other thing is that I'm a soft autumn, and part of that is I'm supposed to wear muted colors. Well, no one ever talks about this, but and this is where I get my original thoughts, which means they could be wrong. But you know how you go and buy paint? And you buy a matte paint if you want the light to absorb the paint and hide the flaws. And you buy a shiny paint if you want the light to bounce off of it and be brighter. Okay? Well, I kind of feel that way, like subconsciously, when we want something muted, we want that light to be absorbed. I mean, it could be wrong. I could be wrong about that. But that's how my brain interprets muted, okay? And they send you this card that's on glossy paper. This is the updated one, so it's actually bigger. But the first one was only about this big. And they do send you a makeup card too, but I already had kind of figured out my makeup. But the card just wasn't a good enough information really for me. So that was a little bit of a problem. But the good news is that I got over my resistance to taking the advice. I kind of talked to myself. I said, okay, if you paid someone to give you advice and you desperately need the advice, shouldn't you just like try out the advice? Yes. So I had to take it for a test drive, and I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did. So like I said, I'm a soft autumn. So for my neutrals, yeah, you're not going to see any black or light blue or taupe or really a cool gray on this card. And I had a lot of that in my wardrobe. And so the first step, of course, was to quit buying it. And the second step was to pass it on. Now that's hard with black because you might, like, as an intentional spender and as a capsule wardrobe person, and I'm minimalist in other areas of my life too, so it's a true thing. I had a lot of black shoes, and I had a lot of black coats, and I had a lot of Dove gray shoes, you know, that fit me and that were pretty cute. But the problem is you think, well, it's just coat and shoes. Well, your other clothes don't go with it. So yeah, you hang on to them for a while during the transition, but eventually you do have to let them go because they're just fighting you. I mean, they are fighting you every time you get dressed. And they shouldn't have that power in your life to do that, right? So the benefits of knowing your colors is you're happy, happy, happy. You now have tools and you can use these tools unless you ignore them. But if you've got the tools, you might as well use them. And like I said, this was just not working for me. And so I went to the big box hardware store and I got paint chips because those are usually on like a matte or more of a matte finish than this is. And that did help. And plus they are bigger sample sizes. The first thing I did was actually just print that page bigger because you do have the digital file, but it didn't come out true to color. So that didn't work. And now what I'm doing currently is I'm saving my swatches of fabrics that seem to be working for me. And as long as I can keep track of this little swatch of fabrics, I think that will help me a lot. I also do order fabric samples. I really believe that in the long run that clears your head because if you buy, let's say 2 yards of something just because you might work and then it's not right, you've got to carry that mental baggage around until you use it. And most likely you're not going to use it on yourself. So it's better to do samples. And the fabric stores charge you for them, so it's not like you feel like you're taking advantage, but it's not so much, on the other hand, that you feel like it's messing up your flow. So like, for example, Style Maker will send you samples. And usually with shipping and everything, I spend around $10. So I'll get a few samples and then like half of it's shipping. They're very quick with their orders, and they put a lot of good information on here. They did not put the price, but that makes sense because it probably changes. But like this is a bamboo sweatshirting, and I'm pretty sure that this is a color that I can wear. But I wouldn't know the exact color or the stretch unless I ordered it. And then the other thing is like it comes with a ribbing, but I don't think they were listed together, but they definitely go together. And so now I know that. And then when I feel this, it's $24 a yard, which is high, but I know why. I know why, because it's a good fabric. And then this is another good example because I would have thought for sure this was my color. But when I got it and I compare it on the card, it's slightly off. It has more gray than you think. And that leads me to interpreting what muted means. And I will probably leave a lot of that to my next video because I'm going to show you how I'm changing some of my things in my closet to fit my color story better. But this isn't muted. Like, it's beautiful, such good quality, and it's even on a cream background, which ends up being very important to me. Because if everything is on a cream background, and like you can tell, like this pink has not been anywhere near the cream. It's just clear, clear, clear. So this is a fabric I'd probably use for my granddaughter. It's just a sample. But if I owned it, I would use it for her, not me. Because I think children can wear any color. Let's not go too far over the top. And then here's another sweatshirting. And again, I think the sweatshirtings are especially good because I don't know about you, but I bet you've done that thing. When you're a newer sewer, you assume sweatshirts stretch. And you make a sweatshirt and you can't get it on. I mean, I definitely did it. It was my husband's. So, we all had to learn that lesson the hard way. And sweatshirting seems to really vary in the amount of elasticity. Okay, and closing, I'm going to give you one other just interesting thing I have found. Is that if you're a muted person, And again, it just seems like the dyes are more going to be on your natural fibers that seem to work for you well. And I could be wrong about this. Like I said, it's just that like this is a very nice athletic fabric. And it's definitely in my color story. But it does reflect a lot of light. So what I'm going to say is going to sound a little contradictory, but all I'm trying to really say is it's a little harder with athletic fabrics because, of course, they're all made of polyester, nylon, and spandex for the most part. And this time last year, I was on a competitive tennis team, so I was playing tennis like 4 times a week. So I needed to have a capsule tennis wardrobe. And okay, so I made a tennis capsule wardrobe, and this is one of the featured pieces, and it's a nice pattern. If you're ever interested in me teaching you how to make athletic clothing, I'd be happy to do it. But right now what I'm teaching you is about color, and this bright white was fighting me. Like I just couldn't get it to go with the rest of my wardrobe correctly. And the flecks are perfect, and it's a perfect fabric. So it does kind of frustrate you because it keeps you from buying some fabrics that are just so darn good. But if you can have the discipline to stick within your colors, you're going to be happier in the long run, and you're never once going to say, I wish I would have bought that fill in the blank. Okay, so stay tuned to my next edition when I talk about more of how I interpret muted and I interpret how to apply this to my wardrobe.